just teach a little bit about the Scroll of Esther itself. Maybe you have some questions. Maybe you've had many questions about the Scroll of Esther. First thing, I say scroll. It is a scroll. And other than the Torah scroll, it's the only other biblical text that Jews of the 21st century still chant from a scroll, an actual scroll. Here it is. I'm going to hide my face for a moment, just like we all do on Purim. Okay. There's a little bit of the text. You notice those huge letters in that section, right? Get back to that in just a moment, why those huge letters. But the Scroll of Esther was written somewhere around in the later half of the 5th century BCE, more than 2,500 years ago. And really, when you read it, you wonder, how did this get into the Bible in the first place? It's this crazy story, a carnival-like story, palace intrigue, plots to kill all the Jews, reversal of fortune, all the bad guys seem to be winning at the end of the story, all the good guys win, and there's lots of killing mixed in there too, and some sex. You know, it's like a contemporary, bizarre drama, right? How did that make it into the biblical canon? We know for certain it was very popular among the people, right? But it's also interesting that in the caves at Qumran, right, where we discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls and pieces of parchment from all the other biblical texts, right? One biblical text was not found in the caves in Qumran, and that is the Scroll of Esther. Nowhere to be found, not even a scrap. Which tells us the Essenes had no interest, maybe even no knowledge, or couldn't have cared less about a bizarre story in which the name of God is not even mentioned. Not mentioned one time. So it must have been after the time of the Essenes where the sages realized this is such a popular text. How do we get it into the Bible? And like other texts that were admitted into the biblical canon, they had to retell the story, that it meant something more serious and deeper than just this frivolous palace intrigue story. And they did. And that's how it became part of the Bible and why we still read and chant from it today. Right? But in its origin and its surface, it was a bizarre text story really designed to entertain people. It's fun. It's hilarious. Yeah, and there's some risk and threat and danger all involved in that. But it works. And there's a fascinating musical tradition that developed over the centuries. Like any other biblical text, we chant it, and we chant it according to trope, all those little symbols that we've discussed from time to time, just like we do in the Torah, the Haftarah. Esther has its own special sound of chanting. And in addition to that, in different passages throughout the Scroll of Esther, we don't chant Esther trope, but we chant other melodies. When Mordecai puts on sackcloth and ashes and fears for the life of the Jewish people, we chant those phrases in the chant of Lamentations, which we chant traditionally on Tisha B'Av. In other fragments where we talk about the king, suddenly there's a high holiday melody there, referring to the music of the high holidays. HaMelech, out of nowhere. So it's a fascinating and interesting amalgamation of different traditions. Esther trope and verses from Lamentations and even the sounds of the high holidays, all wrapped up into this one crazy, diverse story of the Scroll of Esther. And it's the only scroll, other than the Torah and the Haftarah, only biblical text where we sing specific blessings before it. We don't sing blessings before reading the Song of Songs or Ecclesiastes or even Lamentations, or any other biblical text. But for Esther, we sing blessings before. And the melody is similar to the blessings we sing over the shofar in Rosh Hashanah. Imagine how important Purim must have been or become to the sages. Baruch atah Adonai, just like the blessings over the shofar. So this week, when we read from the Scroll of Esther, all of that history, all of those memories, as well as all the just crazy fun, come to mind. So enjoy Purim this year. Join us online for our multiple offerings, and we'll be with you in spirit and in libation. This is an adult show, after all.